Hey guys, it's Demi from Demi's Divine Designs, and today we're going to be making a pattern from Lynn's Handmade. This is a perfect pattern to be using for like panels, and if you have like bigger printed images, that is the Guardian backpack. Like this. We're again going to be doing another Buffy themed one. I got in a ton of Buffy themed fabric from, I believe it was Do or Die Custom Fabrics. I believe it was from there. I'm going to link it in the thing if I'm incorrect or not. But yeah, so we're going to be using another one of the Buffy panels that we have. Going to be making this adorable backpack. I am going to be doing some modifications to the bag as we're going through and making it. So let's hop into it and get started. Here is the materials that you're going to need for this bag. Starting out, I have my panel, and I just have one cut of this. I'm using this just for the front section of the bag. It's going to be like my little accent. Waterproof or water-resistant canvas is what I'm using for my lining. The pattern recommends you have about a half yard of this. Accent vinyl that I'm using to build the rest of the exterior. She also suggests that you have about a half yard of this, but I'm also scrapping this up with some of this vinyl as well. And I got these from, I believe this came from Do or Die Custom Fabrics. Don't quote me, could be wrong. I'll put it in the description if I am wrong or not. This water-resistant, waterproof canvas I got from Wonderground Fabrics. I got this vinyl from Walmart, and I got this vinyl from Joanns. The other things that we're going to need are, we're going to need some fusible fleece. I'm using this to build the exterior of my bag, give it some extra cushion. Play around with this. Try like foam, try Decoville light, Decoville heavy. Just try any type of stabilizer to like boost that up. I like the fleece. It just gives it a little more like squishy squish, but also keeps it very firm. So I'm using this. I'm also going to be using some SF 101. I'm going to be using this mainly for my panel piece since everything else is going to be vinyl or water resistant canvas. So on to the cuts. The main piece that we're going to get most of our panels cut from is going to be the main front and back panel and the zipper panel, which is kind of like one main pattern piece. You got to cut multiple different types of pieces from that one pattern piece, starting with your front piece, which you're going to need your front, which I'm using my panel, lining, water resistant canvas, and your interfacing. For me, it's going to be the SF101 and the fusible fleece, which is all going to go on this panel. Then you're going to need your back main zipper portion. You're going to need one of your exterior and one of your interior. Since I'm using a vinyl for my exterior and a water-resistant canvas for the interior, I don't need any type of interfacing. If you're using like a cotton fabric, you will need interfacing for these pieces as well. Then you're going to need the back top portion of the zipper panel, and that you're going to need same one of your exterior and one of your lining. Since again, I'm using vinyl and water-resistant canvas, I do not need to interface these. If I was using a cotton fabric or a fabric that would need interfacing, I would have interfaces cut for these pieces as well. I know it might be difficult to understand how to cut out these two pieces from the main pattern piece. That's one of those, you kind of just got to read it and hope you figure it out. If that is something that you would like explained, please let me know and I will see if I can explain in more details how to cut these two pieces out from the pattern piece. Moving on to the next pieces. From my accent fabric, I have two of the side pocket pieces, one of each, one of the interior pocket piece, and this is another water-resistant canvas. I just love this pattern and it looks really good with the panel, so that's why we're doing that for those two pieces. Next, then we have our side pieces, which you're going to need two of your exteriors, two of your linings, and I have two of my fusible fleeces. These are cut using the dotted line portion of that pattern piece. And I repeated that process for the bottom where I have one exterior, one lining, and a fusible fleece, again cut on the dotted line portion of that pattern piece. Other cuts that you're going to need are cuts for your D-rings. I do have this cut 2 inches shorter than the width they suggest in the pattern since I am using a vinyl and it gets a little too bulky when I do it the full length that pattern piece is for. I also have a cut for the accent for the grab handle. I also have my zipper tabs. I have 2 of the lining and 2 of the exterior. And then I just have 2 cuts of my panel piece that I'm going to be using for my binding. I'm going to sew this together to make it one long strip so I can double fold for the binding. Next, we're going to move on to other things that you're going to need for this bag, such as hardware and webbing. Other things that we're going to be needing for the bag is going to be some webbing. The pattern suggests that we have 3 1/4 yards of webbing. Since I only had 3 yards of webbing, that's why I'm not doing the detachable shoulder strap. If that is something that you would like to add on, make sure you have 3 1/4 yards of webbing so you can get all of the cuts. For the cuts, you're going to need 2 cuts at least the measurement that they suggest in the pattern. I do like to go about 2-3 inches larger, just so that then you have more adjustability with those straps. Then you have the grab handle, which cut that to the measurement that they suggest. It's perfect. You're going to need a zipper and a zipper pull. The zipper cut exactly to the measurement that they specify in the pattern. You're going to need, for this bag, since I'm not doing the shoulder strap, you're going to need 2 1-inch D-rings or fancy connector rings or whatever you have that's fancy that you can connect your swivel hooks to. You're going to need those to be at 1 inch. You're going to need your swivel hooks and your adjustable sliders to be the same measurement as your webbing. Since I'm using 1.5 inch webbing, I need 1.5 inch swivel hooks and sliders. And we're going to need 2 of each. If you were doing the shoulder strap, you would need 2 more connectors and 2 more swivel hooks. Extras that we're going to need for the bag is my tag. I get this one from Heartwood and Hide. Clips, always necessary, have a bunch of them needed. Thread I'm going to be using today is a Tex 45 weight from Wizardry Stitchery. I love this thread. It is my favy. And since I do have an industrial machine, I can have this in my bobbin without having any issues. I'm going to need marking utensils. Always good to have multiple kinds depending on the type of fabrics that you're using. Lighters to melt down threads and webbing. Again, since I'm using polyester, I can do this. If I was using cotton thread or cotton webbing, no melty, that equals fire, fire bad. Pretty, but bad. So no. Rulers. I like to keep a wide range of rulers around when I sew. I have my tiny 6 by 1 inch. I got my 3 by 9 inch. I got my 6 by 24 inch. I got all the kinds of rulers. Keep those around. I'm going to be attaching my webbing to the straps with rivets. So I need rivets, rivet dies, my press, and my hole punch dies. And that is all the pieces that we need. So let's get started and get this going. All right, starting with your D-ring tab, I do have this cut 2 inches smaller than the pattern suggests, since I am just going to do a single fold. If you were doing a double fold, you would do this 2 inches bigger. So first thing we're going to do is we are going to find our center. So line this up, mark your center. I cannot see that mark for the life of me. New marking tool. Find your center. Whoop. Same thing. Swoop. And this is just showing us our fold line. You can eyeball this. You can eyeball this if you would like, where all you're going to do is just yeet this to the center. And now you can use double-sided tape for this, or you can use clips. Today I'm feeling like clips. Normally I would do double-sided tape, but we're going to go clippies. And we are just going to fold the raw edges in to meet at that center line, clipping them into place. Clip. I'm going to go like this. Clip. And then just continue folding and clipping. All right, perfect. Once you have that clipped how you would like that, we're going to head over to the sewing machine and we are going to top stitch on both folded edges at 1/4 inch, just going edge to edge, edge to edge, and that's it. Okay, beautiful. Now that that is set, what we're going to do is we're going to cut this into 4 pieces. So just fold in half, snip, fold in half again, snip, fold in half again, and snip. Now, we are only going to need 2 of these since we are only doing the 2 connectors. If you were also doing the shoulder strap, you would also need the other 2 connectors. Since we're not doing that, phew, out the way. So, grab your 2 fancy rings, and what we're going to do is we're just going to slide these in. Just slide it in. Making sure that like the folded edge is toward like the bottom, not toward the fancy point. And then we're just going to clip this into place. You can go through and after we clip, you can baste these closed. I'm not going to worry about that today. It's not vital, not necessary, so I'm not doing it. Same thing, slide it in and clip. And now we're good to set these to the side. We're not going to need these for a while. And what we're going to work on next is the accent for the handle. Once you have your strap and your accent piece, grab a ruler. And what we are going to do is we are going to fold this in half. Just to mark our center, I'm just going to crease. I'm not going to go crazy marking that. I can see clearly where that center mark is. And what we're going to do is we're going to mark 2 inches from the center on both sides, just showing us where we have to do our fold. So I'm just doing a little mark there and a little mark there. Nothing crazy. Then we're going to fold in half like we did for the accent connector pieces. We're going to do that here from line to line, where we're just going to fold center into center. This might be tough depending on the type of webbing you're using. This one does not like me. So I'm going to take some double-sided tape just to help keep everything in place. And I'm just going to lay this along the center, just going from line to line, just to help me hold everything in place. I don't think it's going to do the best job, so clips are also necessary. Peel. Oh, the tape didn't fight me today. That's a miracle. And then I'm just going to fold it up to meet in the center. See, that I knew the tape wasn't going to hold very well. So we're just going to clip. I'm just going to do this side at a time. Just going to my line. Come here. And clip. Same thing. Just going to where my line is on this side and clip. Now this part of the pattern is not necessary. It just looks really cute. That's why I highly suggest trying it. It's not a vital part of the bag. It doesn't do anything for the construction of the bag. It's just cute. And we like cute. And then I'm going to do the same on the side. Folding this down to meet in the center. Indie clip. Same thing here. Go to where my line is. Indie clip. Same on the other side. Fold it to where my line ends. Indie clip. And then I just do extra clippies because I don't trust that it's going to stay put. And at this point, you could go through and base this down. I'm just going to go on to the next part, attaching this, and go from there. So how I like to attach this is I will lay this from where my clips are. I like to clip at one edge, like so. And then I'm going to remove the clips from the other side. Because what we're going to do is we are going to wrap this around, coming up And I'm going to switch the clips to the other side. And the clips at this point are just holding the webbing down because it's not going to want to. It's not going to want to stay. And then I'm going to take this edge and wrap that over, adding it to the clips. And a clippy clip. So when you're done, it's going to look like this, where you're going to have the top part of your handle with the pretty edge of your accent piece. The bottom part is going to have the webbing folded inward, and that's where you're going to have the overlap of the two vinyl pieces. Well, the one vinyl piece just folding over itself twice. Then, once we have that how we would like, we're going to head over to the sewing machine, and we are again just going to top stitch along the folded edges. I also like to do another stitch along the center, but the only two that are like necessary are the ones on the two folded edges. And I'm doing that at about 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, and I kind of just guesstimate the center. Now that we have our handle prepped and ready to go, we're going to move on to the last piece of prep work, which is going to be getting our side pockets, exterior side pockets prepped. That is a mouthful. Getting our exterior side pocket pieces prepped. So to do that, grab your two exterior side pocket pieces, and what we're going to do is just fold them in half, wrong sides together. Very simple. Just line it up. You can clip if you would like. I think I'm going to, just to keep it straight. Like so. Do that same for the other one. Fold in half. And clip into place. Like so. Then we're going to head over to the sewing machine, and we are going to top stitch this folded edge at 1/2 of an inch seam allowance, kind of just giving you some structure for the top of that pocket. Now that we have that set, I'm going to separate these, and we're going to grab our two exterior side pieces. Grab those. I did go through and interface them with my fusible fleece. And we are going to we're going to line up our pocket to the side piece. I like to work on this sideways just because it's easier for me to do. Whatever works for you, go for it. You're going to take the bottom edge of the side pocket that is not folded, so the raw one. Line that up along the bottom edge of the side piece, and we're going to clip that into place. Great. Then I like to pull this top corner and line that up with the raw edge of the side piece. Attaching that with a clip, and then I'll go through and clip this pocket piece onto the side panel, making sure the edges are aligned. Then we're going to do the same for this one. And when we do that, it's going to like pucker up the center, which is what we want because that's our pocket. We need it to be puckered. And same thing, clip that into place, lining up the raw edges along the side. And now we have the pocket all puffed out, and we're going to do the same on the other side. Take your side piece, take your pocket. Yeah, I like this one. Line up that bottom edge and flip into place. Three. Take your edge of your pocket, bring that up to meet the edge of the side panel, and clip into place. Then clip that side, making sure all raw edges line up. Which I gotta fight with this one a little bit. Then take the other side of your pocket, bend that up to line up the raw edges, pushing up that center, and clip that into place along the entire side of the edge, side edge, like so. So then we have, again, the pockets where we have like the pocket, and it's lined up along the 3 raw edges. What we're going to do now is head over to the sewing machine, and we are going to stitch this into place at about 1/4 of an inch, kind of just securing this into place. Now that we have those pocket pieces sewn onto the side panels, we're going to prep the inside pocket piece, move that to the side, and grab your pocket piece. Now you want to make sure that you have the pocket going like tall-wise. You don't want it to go this way. We want this way. And what we're going to do is we're going to fold this wrong sides, like right sides together, wrong sides up, just crease, and we are going to clip this into place. And now along the bottom, we want to leave a hole for us to turn this right side out. So I just like to use my hand to measure the hole. Like, yeah, that's good enough. And then, yep. Then what we're going to do is head over to the sewing machine and we're going to stitch raw edges, side, back stitching at this clip, leaving this section open, back stitching at this clip, stitching along the sides before we turn this right side out. Once we have that set, what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim down the corners after I grab a different scissor because I dropped my other one. I like to just start at the corner, trim out, so I don't get close to that stitch and cut it. Same over here, just yeet that, sneep, and sneep. Trimming these corners down is just going to help reduce bulk for when we turn this right side out. It's going to help it lay flatter, which we're going to turn this right side out now. So just stick your fingers in and turn this right side out. Poke out those corners. Since I got my long nails on today, I can just use my nail to get in those corners to press that out. You can use a turning tool, whatever you would like, but just get those corners nice and flat. Press. And press. Alright. Now, depending on the type of material you use will determine how hard or easy that is going to be. Another thing that you can do now is just pull at the opening to help roll those raw edges inward, crease, and clip, just closing the hole for now. It's going to get closed more when we stitch it onto the lining, but for right now, that just helps. If you would like, you can press this, which will help it lay flatter, and it'll help keep this fold in place. I'm just going to clip it. Once we have that clip, the next thing we are going to do is we are going to top stitch along this folded edge, securing just the fold nice and neat. So let's go do that. Now that we have that top stitch, what we're going to do is we are going to mark out sections to divide this pocket up into. The pattern does give certain measurements to have like 2 pen pockets and then a bigger pocket. I don't preferably use the pen pockets, so I'm going to do it differently. Where I am just going to fold this guy in half, finding my half, smoosh, and that is going to be my divider. So I am just going to make that a little more pronounced by marking. I'm just taking my ruler, straightening that out so I can just draw my line. And that's how I'm going to divide my pocket. You divide your pocket however you want to divide your pocket. Whatever works for you, or whatever you think works, use the pattern, go for it. Divide your pocket. Once you have that set, grab your lining piece. And if you want, we can find our center here as well. I'm just going to fold and crease. We're not going to go too crazy with this because it's a lining. It does not have to be perfect. Seeing our center mark, I am going to measure up 1.5 inches like the pattern suggests and line up my pocket with that section. It's cool that I'm using my center as my divider because it makes it easier to line up. Now you can go through and pin or clip this into place if you would like. I'm just going to hold on for dear life. And we're going to stitch this down. And while we're over at the sewing machine, I'm also just going to stitch this divider into place. Now that we have the pocket sewn onto the lining, that is all like the prep work that we really have to do. Now we get to start doing stuff to actually build the bag. So move this to the side and grab your zipper and your zipper tabs. And what we're going to do is we're just going to put the zipper tabs on the zipper tape. Grab one of your exteriors, and we're going to put this where the teeth are facing up. So we're going to take the right side of the vinyl, face it down, lining up the raw edges on the side, and clip that into place, like that. Then we're going to do the same on the other side. Right side of the vinyl, right side of the zipper tape, sandwich, kaput. Line everything up. Come on, you know you want to. Thank you. And clip into place. Then we're going to flip this so we have the wrong side of the zipper tape, and we're going to take the right side of our canvas, lay that down, sandwiching like so. Same on the other side. We're going to take the right side of the lining and lay that on the wrong side of the zipper tape. And just include that in your clip, sandwiching the zipper tape inside of the tabs, like so. Then we're going to bring this over to the sewing machine, and we are going to stitch this into place at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. We're just going to bring this over to the sewing machine and stitch this down at a 1/4 inch seam allowance on both raw edges. Once you have those stitched on, we're going to separate these if you just stitch them back to back like I did. And we are going to fold these and bring the exterior and the lining wrong sides together, giving that a nice little crease. If you would like to, you can clip that at the edge. It's not really that important, but you can. Clip. Same on the other side. We're going to take the lining and the exterior and bring them wrong sides together, creating that crease. Clip along the end. Then we're going to head back over to the sewing machine and just top stitch along the seam that we just created. I'm not going to show you guys that. I'll just pop back when it's done. Once you have that set, now we're going to move on to attaching the zipper onto the back panel. So grab your back panel, starting with the exterior, my favorite to start. Find the center of your zipper. Actually, no, we don't need to do that. Take your zipper, and we're going to take the exterior tab and lay that right sides together with the bottom of our exterior panel, like so. And we are going to clip that into place. Keep. Then we're going to take the other side, keeping the zipper straight. Take the exterior and lay that right side together on our exterior panel. And clip that into place. Now we have to go through and clip the rest of the zipper onto the exterior. And this might be easier. This is easier if you open your zipper up. Openy, and now just clip your zipper onto your exterior panel. All right. Once you have that all clipped, what we're going to do now is we are going to head over to the sewing machine, and we are just going to baste this into place at about 1/8 inch, just attaching the zipper to the back panel. Perfect. Now that we have that stitched on, we are going to grab our lining back panel, and we're kind of just going to like sandwich it on, making sure the right side of the lining is facing the right side of the exterior, folding the other zipper tab out of the way. We're going to clip that around, lining up the edges, You could have done this in one step where you clipped both the lining and the exterior and then stitched the zipper in place. I just like to do it this way just to make sure that my zipper tape doesn't like bunch or anything around those curves. Okay, perfect. Choo choo choo. All right, now that we have this clipped on, we're going to take this to the sewing machine and we are going to stitch this into place at a 1/4 inch seam allowance, securing the interior to the exterior and the zipper. Now that we have that stitched, we can go through and trim the curved edge if you would like. Just remember that if you cut the zipper tape, you're going to want to melt it. I'm just going to go like this. Just taking my pinking shears, just doing some quick little umps around the curves, not clipping through my 1/4 inch stitching. Like so. Then once I have that trimmed, I'm just going to grab one of my lighters and just do a little melty melt. Just to help make sure that nothing is going to fray and unravel over time. There we go. Then, once you have that set to your liking, we're going to turn this right side out. Use your zipper to straighten out that seam by just zipping the zipper up. And then I just like to turn it to make like a bowl, just so you see how well everything's stitched. Make sure your curve looks good. If you like how that is stitched, you're going to head over to the sewing machine and we are going to top stitch along the exterior, just securing this kind of seam down. Now that that is all top stitched and set to go, we are going to repeat the process for the top portion of the back panel. So grab your exterior top. Yeah. We're going to take our exterior top and leave that right side up. We're going to take our lining, our bottom panel, and lay that right side down, starting on the side. So start on this side, center, well, line up your bottom, clip that into place. This is how I like to do it. This is not how the image shows you. This is just what I like to do. Start here, and we are going to take this around. We're going to end up flipping this to make it easier to line everything up. And we are going to just curve this around the top edge of this zipper. I suggest you do this with the zipper closed just for lining up. When we go to sew it, I will be unclipping just to keep everything like straight, you know. Clip, round this out, which this is probably the hardest part of the entire bag, is doing this section right here, but it will get easier the more that you do it. Manipulate the fabric however you need to get these seams to line up. It will line up with some manipulation. All right, perfect. So that was a fun thing to clip. I kind of just folded it and folded the exterior where I needed it to get it around that curve, lining up the edges. Now from here, we're going to head over the sewing machine and we're going to do the same thing that we did for the bottom, where we're going to base stitch the exterior to the zipper at a 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, just basting that into place. Now that we have the exterior connected, we're going to repeat the process for the interior. So grab your lining, and we're going to do the same thing that we did here. We're going to start on one side, lining up the raw edges
of your lining, clipping into place, and we're going to take this all the way around, clipping the lining to the exterior and the zipper, sandwiching the zipper in between the two. Okay, perfect. Once you have that clipped, everything should line up. You're kind of doing the opposite of what you did for the exterior, where like we kind of made a bowl for the exterior. For the interior, we're kind of just wrapping it around the entire bottom. And what we're going to do now is head over to the sewing machine, and we are going to stitch this at a 1/4 inch seam allowance, securing the lining to the exterior and the zipper like we did for the bottom. Now that we have that stitched, to make sure that I don't get pleats when I stitch this, I do a mixture of using my stiletto to help push the seams, the raw edges together, and I kind of just like pick it up as I'm sewing to try to keep everything flat, which so far works well in my favor. So now what we're going to do is we are going to try to lay this flat, which will probably be easier if it's unzipped. Maybe. I'm hoping. Yes. I'm going to clip down at this bottom to help hold, and I'm actually probably going to clip along these edges to help keep everything straight, because we got to top stitch that section next. You can go through and clip if you would like. I'm not sure how necessary it is, so you do whatever floats your boat. I'm just gonna pull at it and clip in certain areas that I think need that extra like hold. If you were using like a cotton fabric, as always, you could always take that to the ironing. You can go to iron it, and that will definitely help keep your seams nice and straight. But since vinyl and water resistant / waterproof canvas equals iron's not going to do a darn thing. I'm actually going to close this back up again because I actually think that helped keeping everything together. Yes, it did. It did help keep everything laying flat. And then the top, same thing, just gonna perfect. I'm gonna push that. Oh yeah, pushing that out also helps a lot. Oh yeah. Once you have that set, we're going to run over to the sewing machine, and we are just going to top stitch along the outer top of the zipper and be done with this section at least. So let's go top stitch this. I'm doing that at about 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, pretty much just riding my presser foot right along that crease along the top edge. Top stitching that section looks harder than it actually is. It's one of those, just go really slow, take your time, lift up your presser foot going around those curves to help prevent any pleating or anything like that. And, you know, it's not as bad as it seems. So the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to attach on the strap connectors. So grab those wherever you threw them after before. And we are going to measure up 1.5 inches. And that is where we are going to stick our connectors. We are going to stick them with the connector facing inward, raw edges facing out. I like to stick mine about 1/4 of an inch hanging off the edge, just so you have that extra protection to keep those strap connectors from coming undone in the future. Clip that into place. Do the same on the other side. Measure up 1.5 inches. Set your connector where it's about 1/4 of an inch hanging off. Clip into place. And now we are going to top stitch this. Well, we are going to base stitch this into place, but we are only basting it to the exterior. So if you need to, remove your clips from the interior and just have the connectors stitched to the exterior, which is what I'm doing right now. Bam. And then we're going to take this to the sewing machine and just base this into place, connecting the connectors to the back panel. All right, perfect. Now that we have the shoulder strap, the strap connectors just connected to the exterior, not the lining, we are all set to move this to the side, and now we get to work on the front. Grab your exterior front and your tag. If you're adding your tag, if you're not, skip this step entirely. I am going to grab some double-sided tape, my nice thin one, and I'm just going to put some double-sided tape right along the back of my tag. This is just going to help hold it in place. Doesn't have to be fancy. Just hold in place. Then I'm going to fold my panel in half to find my center, which, ooh, yay, I did it right in line with the image. I'm going to take my ruler, and I'm actually going to use my image as my way to find where I'm putting this. I'm going to put this at 1.5 inches, no, 1 inch. 1 inch above where my panel ends, which is about, what's this? 8.5 inches up from the bottom, if that helps. I'm going to pull off my tape, center this on, like so. Yes, I like how that looks. And now I'm just going to stitch this tag into place, putting it on there, making it look pretty. Now that I have my tag on, I'm good to attach my straps. To attach our straps, what we first need to do is we need to kind of trim off a diagonal up by the top. This is just going to help lay the straps flatter when we attach them. So just take, I would say, about 1/2 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 of an inch. Go from edge to point, clipping on the diagonal, and do the same on the other. Again, about 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 of an inch, edge to corner. It does not have to be perfect, but since we did cut our webbing, I am going to melt it just to help prevent it from unraveling and fraying over time. Melty melt away, melty melt away. Make sure it's not going to fray. Same on the other side. Melty melt, melty melt. All good. Then, from our center, if you need to refold to see your center, go ahead. You are going to measure 3 inches from the center on both sides, which is where you are going to line up your strap. So you're going to take your strap and line it up 3 inches from the center, and that's where the edge of your strap is going to start. We're going to clip that into place. Making sure the edge lines up. We're going to do the same on the other side. Go 3 inches from the center, taking your diagonal and making sure that lines up like so. And then we are going to clip into place. Once we have that set, we're going to run over to the sewing machine, and we're just going to base this in place at about 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, just securing this onto the front panel nice and tight. Once we have that set, you're going to grab your exterior back panel, and what we're going to do is we're going to line up this raw edge, And we're going to do that distinctly for the exterior. And we're just going to attach the exteriors. So fold your lining out of the way and clip your exterior top together for your front and your back. Again, keeping that lining out of the way. We do not want to clip that quite yet. All right, once we have that clipped, we're going to head over to the sewing machine and we're going to stitch these two raw edges together at a 1/2 inch seam allowance, securing this into place. Once we have that set, we're going to repeat the process for the lining. I'm just going to roll up these straps to help get them out of the way. So all I'm doing is just rolling it, keeping the strap compact so we don't accidentally sew it into any of our seams. I have done that too many times for me to count. So we're going to avoid that by doing this. So just bam. Then we're going to grab our lining and we're going to take the lining right sides together. So take your pocket and flip that right side on top of the back lining and clip into place along this top raw edge. Once you have that clipped, we're going to head over to the sewing machine and we're going to stitch that into place along that top edge, same as we did for the exterior at a 1/2 inch seam allowance.
Now that I have the top edge sewn on both the exterior and the interior, we are going to top stitch these. We're going to both press these open and we are going to top stitch along both sides of the exterior top. So like if I flip it this way, seam is pressed open along this edge and we are going to top stitch along this edge and this edge. And we're going to repeat that also for the lining. So we're going to press open the lining as well. Move that out of my way. Press open. And we are going to top stitch along both sides of the lining as well, pressing that seam open. So we're going to head over to the sewing machine and I'm going to top stitch both sides. Now that top stitch is done. It is not a necessary part of the bag. It just helps everything look nicer and it helps doing this next part of attaching the grab handle a lot easier. So flip your bag right sides up so we can see all of that. Move your strappy straps out of the way and grab your grab handle. Once you have your grab handle, we're going to flip our straps to flippy flop the other way. And we're going to take our handle, we're going to line up our raw edge, centering the handle over the seam. Since my handle has lines, it does make it easier, even though they are kind of crooked lines, it's still easier to do it this way. So line that up and clip that into place only through both the exterior and the interior. We're going to attach this to both. Clip, and we're going to do the same on the other side. And you're going to notice doing that, it's going to pucker this handle up. That is exactly what we want. We want it to go phew, lift. And clip that into place as well on both the exterior and the lining. Then once you have that set, grab a ruler and a marking utensil. And we are going to measure 1 inch up from this edge and draw a line like so. Then from there, I'm going to go about 2 inches, kind of to where that fold starts to begin. So you're going to take the 1 inch mark and then measure 2 inches away from that 1 inch mark. And that is what we're going to use to to stitch our box. So draw your line so you have your reference. Same here. And now you can go through and draw your X's. I like to just eyeball those. But that's up to you. If you want to draw your X, draw your X. If not, don't worry about it. We're going to repeat the same on the other side, where we're going to measure 1 inch from the edge, and then 2 inches up from that mark. And then we're going to marky, marky, marky. And then draw your line. Ba-dam. Same on this one. Ba-dam. Then, once we have that set, we are going to head over to the sewing machine and we are going to stitch along this square. So go like square, 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 square. And then we're going to stitch an X, securing that down, and we're going to do that for both sides. So this side and this side. We're going to stitchy stitch that way. And bam! Now that is all stitched. We have it puffed up in the center and we have our X's sewn with our boxes, holding the handle to both the exterior and the interior. Now I'm just going to clean up the little strings that want to be popping out. That was a mixture of it getting stuck when I was sewing. Just going to give a little snippy snip on this tail. Like that. That one looks pretty good. Snip that. And now we get to move on to attaching the side panels. So grab your 2 exterior side panels and we are now going to attach those. Starting from one side, I like to take my side panel and flip it right sides together, starting at the center, but we're only attaching it to the exterior. We're kind of moving the interior, the lining, out of the way. And we're going to clip like that. And then I like to just take the one side of the exterior and bring it all the way down to the bottom of the side panel, clipping that into place. And I'm going to do the same to the other side, making sure this D-ring is flipped towards the inside so we don't accidentally sew over it. And we're going to do the same thing. I'm just going to take the exterior only. We're going to fold that lining out of the way, which I know it's harder on this side, but make sure you don't get the lining. And line that up with the exterior and clip into place. Clip. And now I'm just going to go through and clip the rest of this side panel onto this side of the exterior, just going up around the sides and up on the curved top. All right, once you have that clipped and you like how that looks, we're going to move over to the other side. And how challenging this is truly just depends on how your material is. If you have a very stiff material that you're using for your exterior in any sense, this is going to be harder to do than if you were using a lighter weight material. Cotton is probably going to be your best bet with this, but my vinyl that I'm using today is pretty pliable, so it's going very well. And my front is cotton lycra, so it's stretchy and bends perfectly fine. So yeah, just keep that in mind when picking out your materials, that this is probably the most challenging part. This and attaching the zipper onto the back panel is the hardest parts of this bag, but you can make that easier depending on the type of material you use. On this side, I'm just doing the same thing. I'm attaching the center, going over to the bottom and attaching this to the exterior only, making sure you're bending the lining out of your way and you're folding your D-rings to go inward away from the seam. And I'm just going to clip the rest of this into place. All right, perfect. Once you have that set, you're going to have your 2 side panels clipped onto your exterior. And we're going to head over to the sewing machine and we are going to stitch both of these into place. Just going whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop around the outside at a 1/2 inch seam allowance, securing just the exteriors together for both the side pocket and the side panel and the front and back. We're not attaching the lining. So over on this back section, make sure you bend the lining out of your way. We do not want to catch this at all for this step. Now that we have those side pieces on, make sure you don't have any pleating or anything weird in your seam. Once that looks good, we're going to repeat that process for the lining. So grab your two lining side pieces. Then we're going to do the same thing. Take one of your side panels and line it up with your lining. And clip. Then flippy dip. This side is more difficult because you do already have this lining pretty tight, but you can maneuver it out of your way. So then you're going to take, I'm actually going to do a couple more clips up here just to keep everything straight. Then you're going to take the other side of your lining, bring it down to the back side, and again we're going to line up the wrong side of the lining. Right sides of the lining together, wrong side should be facing you. And we are going to clip in place along this whole side gusset. And again, this should be a bit harder. All right, once you have that clipped, the lining is definitely harder to clip than the exterior, so keep that in mind when going through and clipping these. Then, once you have that clipped to the best of your ability, it is a lining, so it's fine if there's a little pleats or something here and there. We're going to do the same to the other side, where we're going to take our side panel, right sides together with our lining back panel, clip up along the side, bring the other side of your side panel to the back side of your lining, making sure you're folding the exterior out of the way, and clipping that into place. And then just continue clipping the side panel onto your lining all the way around. And again, this is slightly harder than the exterior, so don't get discouraged if you have to fiddle around with it. You got to keep moving your clips. Do what you need to do to get the side panel to lay flat along your lining front and back pieces. Then, once you have that clipped to your liking, and again, it is a lining piece, so don't go too insane with it. It'll be fine. We are going to take this over to the sewing machine, and we are going to stitch both of these side panels onto the lining only at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. As I pop clippies off. Now that the clips are reattached, we're going to take this over to the sewing machine and stitch along the clipped edges, securing the side panels onto the lining at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Let's get it. All right, now that that's done, that was definitely challenging, and it is definitely a part of the bag that brings this from a beginner bag to an intermediate bag. But once you have that done, what we're going to do now is we're going to flip the lining over the exterior, basically having the bag right side, wrong sides out. So just go ahead and give that a little smooshy smoosh, turning your lining out around your exterior. Round out your side pieces. Don't pop off a nail in the process. Same on the other side. Give that a pooshy poosh. Like so. It's going to look better when you turn it right side out anyway, so it doesn't have to be perfect. You just got to get it turned out enough that you can line up the bottom. Because now the next thing we're going to do is we are going to attach the bottom. But I like to start by lining everything up I like to nest my seams together, just clipping into place. This is just going to help us when we have to put the bottom on, just to make it go smoother. All right, perfect. Once you have that clipped to your liking, now we're going to work on the bottoms. So slide this out of your way for now. We'll be coming back to it in a moment. Grab both your lining and your exterior bottom. Flip your exterior wrong side up and your lining right side up, wrong side down. And we're going to lay this directly over, and we are just going to clip into place around the bottom. Perfect. Once you have this clipped, we're going to head over the sewing machine and we are going to baste around the outside of the bottom at I want to say between 1/8 and 1/4 inch seam allowance, just securing the exterior to the lining. That's all we're doing. All right, now that that is done, we have our bottom prepped and ready to put on our bag. Since we are binding this bag, we are going to make sure that we open our zipper and we are just directly attaching the bottom onto the bottom of the bag. We're not birthing it, we're just binding it, so just attach. So what you're going to do is you are going to go through and attach this. If you want to, you can find your center of your bottom. I'm just going to crease it. And I'm just going to line the center up with where my center is marked on my pockets. So my center is here, center of the bottom is there, clip. And then I'm just going to keep that straight and connect that on this side. And then we're just going to go through and connect and join the bottom into the clips that we already have around the bottom of the bag. So go ahead and clip away. Okay, clipping that, I did have to go through and do some like serious manipulation with the fabric going around these curves. And definitely make sure when you're doing the part with the zipper tabs, you're having those tabs open. Don't let them bunch up or else it's going to make your bottom not fit correctly. So make sure you're like forcing those zipper tabs to lay flat and not bunch up. That's how you get the nice bottom. So now we're going to run over to the sewing machine and we are going to stitch this into place at a 1/2 inch seam allowance, securing the bottom onto the entire bag. All right, now that we have the bottom attached, while I was at the sewing machine, I did attach my 2 strips that I'm going to be using for binding, and I'm just going to trim off this tail that I have here. It's not the prettiest stitch here, but you know, it's going to do its job. It's just binding. I am going to take this and I'm going to match the raw edge up, clipping into place, going along the bottom, because I'm going to do the double fold where I'm going to stitch, wrap this over and under, and that's going to be my binding. And since I'm using the cotton lycra, this is going to be a lot easier because I'm kind of just going to stretch it out where I need it to go and clip it in place. I'm going to make it work. That's the fun with this. I can do that. Ha ha ha. So clip, continue. Clip. And again, this is binding. It's not like something that every single person is going to be looking at in this bag. So if it's not the prettiest, then it's not the prettiest. It's alright. It's just binding. I'm not worried about it. Again, the only people who are going to be seriously going through and critiquing every little stitch that you have on this bag is you. So if your binding is not as straight as it should be, it's okay. I have some sections of my bottom that I need to clip because when I was sewing, it went off kilter. It's okay. Nobody's gonna know but you. Well, now all of you are gonna know what's wrong, but that's fine. You guys are good. You're not gonna tell nobody. And then again, going through, keep. And keep. And then I'm just gonna cut some of this tail off. Just enough. Alright. And then I am just gonna go through and stitch this again on the 1/2 inch seam, just securing the binding in place. All right, now that we have that stitched, what we're going to do is we're going to roll the binding down. And I'm going to trim this long tail that's chilling over here. Goodbye. We're going to roll this down. When doing this, I'm making sure that all of my stitches are covered from when I attached the bottom. And it does look like, ooh, right there we missed. And of course that we're going to see. So I'm going to go fix that. I will be right back. Okay, fix that now. So see, no more. Ha ha ha. Double checking all the way around. And what we're going to do next is we're going to take the edges and we're kind of going to just fold them under and roll, hiding the seam and tucking our raw edges. And we are going to clip into place. We're going to do that all the way around. So I'm going to kind of like roll the seam under, the edges under, and then roll the entire thing down. Then once you get to a certain point, if you're using cotton lycra like I am, it's going to automatically start doing that because it's going to mix with what we already have. It's going to kind of just blend with everything else to an extent. The edges of cotton lycra like to fold in on themselves anyway, so we're just, encouraging it. All right, perfect. Once we have that all folded and we are covering all of our stitches, we're going to head over to the sewing machine and we are just going to top stitch this into place, making sure that we are covering all of our stitch lines from when we attach the bottom onto the back. All right, now that we have the bottom bound, that was definitely not the most professional way to bind the bottom, but it worked and it looks really cute, so I'm gonna go with that. We are good to turn this bag right side out because technically that was the last stitch that we have to do for this bag. So now we get to fight and turn this right side out. Alrighty, now that it is turned right side out, oh my goodness, that looks so stinking cute. Look at her. All right, now the last thing we have to do is attach the straps. So attaching the straps, pretty simple. I'm just going to zip this up just so it's one less thing we got to worry about. But starting with one strap, we're going to unravel it. We are going to grab our rivets, swivel clips, adjustable sliders, rivet die, and rivet press. So start by making sure that your strap is straight. So when you pull it out, it's straight. What we're going to do is we're going to take the straight end, put the slider up over the middle bar, slide that out the other again, making sure it's over the middle bar. Pull that up, again, making sure that it is straight. Have the swivel hook facing up. Then we're going to take our strap, again, making sure it is straight, going through, making sure the hook part is facing up toward like the sky if the bottom of your thing is this way. So it's going to look like this, where you have your adjustable slider like this, your hook like this, strap completely straight. We're going to take our strap and we're going to loop it under the swivel hook, like so. Pull that out of the way. Then we're going to take the adjustable slider, go up, exposing that middle bar. Hello, middle bar. We're going to take our end of the strap, go up, then we're going to loop that over the middle bar. So it's like this. You got two loops, middle bar. And then we're going to pull this one out, I want to say about inch to an inch and a half. And this is where we're going to do our holes. So grab your hole punch and do 2 holes. I'm doing 2 because I have 1.5 inch webbing. If you have 1 inch webbing, you're only going to do 1 hole. I'm just going to go 2 holes, 1 here, and 1 here. I don't do any rhyme or reason as to where I put my holes. I just put my holes. Then you're going to grab your rivets. Going to take 1 rivet, stick it in the holes you just made. Then clip. Stick the other rivet in the other hole. Come here. Get out. There we go. It just wanted to fight me. And then we're going to clip into place. Clip. There's strap number 1. We're going to repeat that again on strap number 2, and I'm going to explain it much better this time. So, keeping your strap straight, you're going to take your swivel hook, your slider, and slide that up and over the middle bar. Then slide that up. Keeping your strap straight, have your hook face up to the right side of your webbing and slide that on so it goes right side of the adjustable slider, right side of the hook. You're going to take your webbing and loop that behind your hook up to your slider. You're going to create some distance in your slider so you have like a loop. And keeping the strap straight, we're going to go up from the bottom of the adjustable slider, loop that over the hook, coming out the top of the slider. And we're going to pull that extra slack about 1 inch to 1.5 inches. And right here is where we're going to be putting our rivets. So again, just put your 2 holes for your rivets, or 1 if you're doing 1 inch straps. I'm just gonna eyeball where I want these. Again, I don't have a rhyme or reason. I just stick them. Then stick your rivets in the holes. Then we're going to put our rivet setting die in, and we're going to set these rivets into place. And now we are set to set these rivets into place. So just set them. Smoosh. 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 And a smoosh. And then we have a completed bag. We're just going to attach the hooks onto our connectors. And we have a completed backpack. This came together very well. This is a more intermediate pattern, so please keep that in mind when deciding if you want to give this a try. The materials that you choose and the way that you construct the bag does make things harder. If you use heavier set materials, this is going to be a harder bag to sew. If you were going through and picking all cotton material, this is going to be simpler. The sides are the hardest part of this bag, putting those on specifically for the lining, which you would usually think that would be easier because there's not a lot going on with it. But no, putting the lining sides on was definitely harder. I love how the bag has this accent handle and how it just goes right across, keeping everything in place and providing more structure for your straps, like more security, where you can tug, rip, pull. It's not moving. That's what I like. It is very cool. And then the lining, boom, 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 boom. I love how open it is, how you have that little accent of like, Buffy, and you have a lot of room. And it's also a good thing that this zipper goes on your back. So nobody can get into the bag unless they're in your back. See, like, watch when I put it on. See, with it on, the outside, you just see the panel. You can see the two side pockets, but you can't get inside of the bag when it's on because the zipper is on my back and nobody can get into it unless they're like sticking their hand in my back, which you're going to feel if somebody's doing that. So good luck, thieves. Anywho, this bag is adorable. I am a huge Buffy fan to the point that like I have like tattoos because of that show. I have a Buffy problem and it just gets worse and worse the older I get, which you would think it would be the opposite. But this bag is adorable and having the panel, it looks so good. Putting that next to the one I made the other day of the lovely gentleman, it's so cute. Everything went together so nicely. I love the webbing that we used. I love the vinyl that we used, the panels. The panels look so good on these bags. If you have panels and you don't know like how to incorporate them in the bags, this one, do it on this one, they're pretty. It's very pretty. And I have made this bag a few times. I have these two Buffy ones that we made, and then I have another one. I have this adorable Stitch one that, again, so freaking cute. Just comes together so nicely. This bag's adorable. I love making it. It is very quick to come to put together for a backpack. Because I mean, the last backpack it took me like 4 or 5 hours. This one maybe took me 2.5, 3. But I was explaining, so it was probably even quicker. But I do suggest you guys give this one a try. Lynn is fantastic at writing her patterns. She does a phenomenal job at walking you through step by step. She gives you tips throughout the entire pattern on how to make certain steps easier, which I highly suggest you try. And honestly, I think at this point I own all of her patterns and have not had an issue with any of them because she's just a phenomenal pattern writer. But as always, if you guys have any questions, if you like the tutorial, like, comment, subscribe, the whole YouTuber thing. It was nice to see you guys. I will talk to you on the next one, and definitely let me know if you give this one a try. Thank you, and have a nice day. Bye, guys.